Community reporter Chinchilla Jonicia interviews 4 formerly wrongfully imprisoned but recently exonerated men: Daniel Gwynn, Muti Esagboro, Eddie Ramirez, and James Lambert, who spent decades behind bars for crimes they did not commit. They have never voted and will share what it's like to be able to vote for the very first time in their lives.
This is Dr. Chinchilla Jonicia, PhillyCAM Voices. This painting was drawn by Daniel Gwynn, an exoneree. Hear his story and other exonerees on the importance of voting. Hey everybody, this is your girl Dr. Chinchilla Jonicia, the Queen of Justice, and I am standing here now with Daniel Gwynn. He was wrongfully incarcerated for 30 years. At the age of 24, he was just released from prison back in February of this year, February 28th, 2024. This month, the 28th, will mark 8 months that Daniel has been out of prison. Prior to being kidnapped from your family, thrown into the slave plantation, the modern day slave plantations, were you a voter prior to being wrongfully incarcerated?
No, I was too young at the time to understand the voting process.
Okay, but you were 24.
But too young in my mind to understand the voting process.
Okay, got you. So you didn't really see like the significance of voting or anything like that at that time?
No.
Okay. So now during your 30 years of being wrongfully incarcerated, looking at like the news, if you all could watch TV, watch the news and seeing the different things going on with the elections and everything, did that like trigger anything like, wow, voting is important or anything like that?
Absolutely, because the nonsense that I've seen going on in the news, it was ridiculous how some of these people that was being voted into office weren't doing their jobs. If anything, they was doing things that hurt the people more so than help the people.
Now that you are a free man, did you have an opportunity to vote during the primary this year?
Absolutely. That's one of the things I did as soon as I got out was I registered to vote.
Okay.
And then I got to vote in the general. And just Friday, I got to submit my ballot for
the
primary.
General. The primary was in April. So it's a primary first, the general in November.
Well, see, I still have a lot to learn, but
yeah, it's okay. But guess what? You registered and you voted.
That's right.
So that's the thing. So now, how did it feel to vote for the very first time at the age of 54? First time voting in your whole life. How did that feel, Dan?
Exhilarating. And it still does because I got to vote again for this next election, the presidency.
Okay.
Which is very important.
Awesome. So what would you say to people, for those who think that their voice or their vote doesn't matter, that doesn't count? What would you say to them?
Every vote counts.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Dr. Chinchilla Jonicia, the Queen of Justice, and I am sitting here right now with Muti Esagboro. We're going to be talking about the importance of voting because Muti, he was wrongfully incarcerated for 42 years behind bars for a crime that he did not commit, and Muti was a teenager, okay? And so we're going to talk about that tonight with the fact that Muti did not get a chance to vote because he was kidnapped from his family at the young age of, how old, Muti?
17.
The young age of 17, everybody. And we know that you can't register to vote until you're 18 years old. So Muti never had that opportunity to register to vote prior to being kidnapped from his family. And Muti just got out of prison last year, June 23rd, 2023, at the age of 59. When you got out, we're embarking on last year's general election, which was coming up in November. So how soon after you were released from prison, how soon did you register to vote?
It was right away.
Okay.
Right away.
Okay. And did you vote in November last year for the
Yes.
general election?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so now that was your very first time voting in your entire life.
Yes.
Wow. So, and then you were 60
I took
years
pictures
old.
of it and everything.
Okay, so at the age of 60,
Yeah.
that was the very first time you voted. How did that feel for you?
The thing that I enjoyed about the process, because I wanted to pose and got to see how things go on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's what really got me excited.
I remember you had your little "I voted" sticker.
Yeah, I had that joint on my phone. It faded though. I learned don't put it on your phone. It's not gonna last. I did.
Oh, so you don't have your first "I voted" sticker anymore. Well, you can get another and then put it in your scrapbook. Hey, Eddie, how are you?
Great.
Good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Hey everybody, this is Dr. Chinchilla Jonicia, the Queen of Justice, and I am sitting here with Eddie Ramirez. Eddie had his wrongful conviction overturned last year, November 30th, right?
November 30th.
November 30th of 2023, after 27 years?
27, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 28 years.
Almost 28 years, wow. How old were you, Eddie, when you were wrongfully incarcerated, kidnapped from your family, maybe, you know?
I was 19, not even 20 yet.
Okay, wow. So at 18, did you register to vote at 18?
I had not registered.
Okay.
But that was one of the first things I did when I came home.
Okay, 18, you didn't register, so 19, you were kidnapped off the streets from your family and wasn't out in society again until 27 years later. So you never had this opportunity to vote. And so while you were on the inside, did you ever think about voting and what it may be like to be able to vote?
Yeah. Well, I never thought about, I can't say what it would be like to vote, but I thought about the importance of voting.
Okay.
Because I come from a community where it seemed like a lot of people were doing a lot of complaining. And the complaints were legit, they were justified, but not really doing a lot to change their conditions. And in prison, I became a part of a social organization that really represented the Latino community. And I would meet people who would tell me so much. They wanted so many things to change, and I would say, okay, well then help me change them.
Yes.
And that's when they would just be, oh man, well I've got other things to do. And I'm like,
Wow.
You have to prioritize.
Yeah.
And so I would think, well, this is what our civic duty of voting is like.
Okay.
That we have a responsibility.
Yes.
It's not just a privilege; it's a responsibility.
Yes.
Your voice is heard with your vote, because it is the first step to saying, I am here, I am a citizen, I have rights. These are the changes that I want. It is because if you don't vote and you try to stir up action, then you're just being a hypocrite.
Right.
It starts with the vote.
Everybody, this is Dr. Chinchilla Jonicia, the Queen of Justice, and I'm standing here in Harrisburg at the state capitol and in Pennsylvania, okay? And listen, today we had our wrongful conviction awareness day event and a press conference for exoneration compensation. And Monk, as we call him, but his name is James Lambert, he was wrongfully incarcerated, everybody, for 35 years, with 33 of those years he spent on death row. James was 32 years old when he was wrongfully incarcerated, everybody. And prior to your wrongful incarceration, were you a voter?
No, I was not.
You were not a voter?
I hadn't voted up to that point.
Okay. And why didn't you vote up until that
Well,
point?
because I wasn't political and I didn't trust politicians anyway, so what's the point of voting?
Okay.
So so I just never voted. I never really, even though the vote was important, I didn't think so I never voted.
Okay, so did you think that your vote wouldn't count?
Yeah, I didn't think it would count anyway.
Okay,
You know what I mean? At that point. Even up to 32.
Okay, because you were 32 years old, and so for those years from 18 to 32, you never voted. And then you were kidnapped off the street, thrown behind bars,
35
convicted of a crime you didn't commit for 35 years. And were you allowed to vote in prison?
Oh, no. What?
So when you were in prison, did you ever think about, wow, I should have voted while I was out?
As time goes on, as time went on, and my thought process, my thought pattern was seeing different things, and I was having different understandings, clearer.
Catch the rest of that segment on YouTube.